folks. Oh, I messed it up. Messed up my own stupid intro. Oh, man. Off to a good start. Uh, Insert YouTube intro here into this World of Warships Legends gameplay, commentary, review, shenanigans. What are we doing today? There's this thing, Year of the Horse in here. I think as they've done a bunch of these like drops and stuff, I think I actually have most all of the ships. Oh, you know what? That's so annoying. The one ship that I was going to do, they don't seem to have. Oh my god. I should have checked. I have a match in the Fenyang that I was gonna add to this. That's not one that's for sale. Okay, well, that serves me right. Well, I'm gonna put it on anyway because it's cool. Yeah, they got stuff for sale. I like this one. I think this one's underrated. Junk, junk, fine but boring. Junk. Yeah, that's it. GG. On to the gameplay. Addendum. The Fenyang is for sale in the store. It's just not on sale right now. I don't think I made that clear. Anyway, it's here if you really want it. I like it, but wait till it's on sale. Get a coupon, whatever. Yeah, I guess you can get it for this if you want. There's probably better ones. But yeah, whatever. Now on with the gameplay. All right, yeah. Who was that guy? He had no idea what he was doing. Anyway, it's me. Howdy, howdy, folks. We're here in this World of Warships Legends. It's the Fenyang. You can see my build. There it is. Very similar to what I used for Akazuki, Kitakazi, Northern Dragon. They're all, I don't know if they're the exact same hull, but it's similar enough. They share a lot of the same properties. Good concealment, 8 turrets, AP arms on destroyer hulls that they will face with the 100mm guns. They all have fixed pin on the HE, but it varies a little bit from ship to ship. Honestly, I don't remember off the top of my head. I think Fenyang gets 30mm, which is nuts for a tier 6. Single torpedo rack. This one gets 4 deep water torpedoes. You can see that I put the torpedo speed and the first row skill instead of observant rage. The guns on this thing are fantastic. They are absolutely what I am playing around, but I find that one of the drawbacks of these ships is that they are unwieldy. Relatively slow rudder, relatively large turning circle. Not bad, but as far as destroyers go, they're not particularly nimble. And then I do find that the torpedoes on this, like, yeah, you only have the one rack, but the reload's good enough, and the damage is quite high for a tier 6 destroyer. Range is really long, and then they're deep water, so they have, quite good detectability. Going 72 knots, like, I find them quite potent. And because I get to pick up the, I guess not lose a little bit of maneuverability handling, and the guns are still quite good. I really like it, and I use it on a lot of the ships that are like this. We're in a 5 destroyer match. You gotta be careful in high count destroyer matches, even if you're in a destroyer like this. The Fenyang has a lot of properties that make it kind of an alpha destroyer at tier 6. I would argue that it is one of the best destroyers at the tier. Z35 I think is kind of the... For a long time I would have said it's the best overall, but honestly as the game has evolved, as you're often going to be into tier 7 destroyers that can either, outspot that 5 km sonar or, have the same or similar. I'm not sure Z35 is... I think it's still very good, but just because, one of the reasons that it used to be so good is that it was like anything that you queue into, your sonar is going to be as good or better. Loyang, I believe, was if I'm not mistaken, was the first destroyer that actually could outspot the Z35. I don't know if I would have gotten out of the way of that. That might have been a little lucky. But anyway, so there are a lot of destroyers at tier 7 that can outspot or, you know, close enough to equal spot the Z35. I just don't think that 5-kilometer sonar that it has is as standout as it used to be. Still very good. It's a very good, well-rounded destroyer. I believe the Fenyang is quite good. It is very high health. The gun damage is quite good. It actually, it's not amazing. Like, it has a bit of a longer reload, and then the AP damage per shell is only 1900, but it does have 8 guns, so like, you can definitely see, like, yeah, I mean, that's, what is that, a quarter of a chunk on the Akatsuki, maybe a little bit more. So they're very, very good. Have improved pin angles, and then with the Pan Asian Commander, his base trait kind of gives you even more. I really enjoy them. If you can get them to pin, they will arm on pretty much anything that you hit because they're only 100 millimeters. So yeah, I quite like those. You can see that we are in a bit of a pickle with 3 other destroyers around us. But our team is here. We're kind of dipping in and out of smoke, trying not to just take sustained fire, and especially in this instance, like, we do outspot most of the other destroyers. I can't stay in my smoke because I got a bunch of torpedoes in it, so I kind of pushed through, pushed the Akatsuki, stole his smoke for a second just to drop spot, and then we've got these other 2 red destroyers out here. We've got, I'm trying to check, what is that? It's a Fuso. That's not that scary. I'd like to get torps on it if I can, but we're also keeping an eye out for these two red destroyers that were over here. Are they going to leave? Are they going to go around the island? Or they come back and get me? Like, what's going on? But I know that as long as the Fuso, it has my target locator, like, I'm not going to get spotted because he's outside of my spotting range. If it's pointing at him, nothing's close. So wait, oh, pop back. Here's the Grom. I've got AP loaded. I don't want to shoot it in his nose, so we'll wait until he angles just a little bit. There he is. And then bam, yeah, like 7 pins, 1 over pin, whatever that was, 4,000 damage. Depth strike, like, these guns are good. I do like this thing. One is there's a bit of a learning curve on when and where to shoot the AP. I mean, it's none of it's rocket science, but that is a little bit of a tricky thing. And but I'm definitely feeling much more comfortable with it. That salvo, I mean, I still got 4 pins, but like, what was that grooving on those guns? I really need to get this Hardy off the board because he is spotting me, and if I can sink him, nothing else will see me, and I can just stop taking damage. Because there are still 2 destroyers on their team and a carrier, so I really don't want to dump a bunch of health, even though we just fought 3 destroyers and sank all of them. Like, match isn't over. You know, destroyers are just so fragile. If their carrier's good, if I like, oh, and actually even just looking at that one's low, that one's low, we've got low destroyers, like, this could turn in a heartbeat. This is why I don't love these high destroyer matches, just because I find them so, they're chaotic. The health just isn't there for, like, sustained combat. In general, like, and that is one of the things that I like about this game, is like it's a little more methodical, it's a little more deliberate than a lot of other games. You know, it's certainly not a simulation, but I do like that you kind of have to plan ahead and, like, make multiple shots. It's just not this, like, bam bam, somebody's dead. Like, it just takes a little longer than that. I've done all that other stuff, you know, Call of Duty and stuff like that, Counter-Strike, like, years ago. Like, I've done that. I don't want to do that anymore. Or, I mean, it's still fun, but it doesn't hold me like this does. So, anyway, that's one of the reasons I don't love destroyer matches. And then it just can snowball if me and the Moss, if this cap had flipped the other way, like if the 3 destroyers here had sunk the Moss and I, you know, they would have just run right up this flank, sunk the battleships on the carrier. Like, this match just gets flipped totally the other way. That's why you got to stay a little careful. Keep your head on a swivel, but also don't overcommit. Keep your health up. You know, you saw, like, how I was very careful going into the cap, and then even once I saw the Akatsuki, because there's 5 destroyers, it's like, I'm not gonna just go in to try to sink him, because as you saw, there's 2 other destroyers right there on top of him. So that's always how I think about and how I tend to play these high count destroyer matches. Certainly until we have a good idea for where the destroyers are. If you're ever in a carrier in a high destroyer match like this, kind of pinging which destroyers you see as you see them is really helpful, because if I've got, you know, a Grom, what was it, a Grom, a Hardy, and an Akatsuki in front of me, that's a little different than if it's like a Kid, an Orkin, and a, I don't know, something else, what, a Cossack or something. Oh, actually got distracted speaking of the Cossack. I'll come back to that. So anyway, just play it safe, be a little cagey, don't go all in, but do be in position to fire if the destroyers are spotted. So we've got three... Yeah, we got 3 kills at this point. I'm looking at this Moss. I would love to pick up the kill, always would, but I'm also want to help our teammate out, because he's kind of done the right thing. Like, actually, to a point that I made in my... What was it? Oh, it was my Montana, back-to-back in, double Krakens. I got 2 Krakens in a row. Just kind of talking about, like, you don't always know what the other person is doing or thinking or why. I love what this Moss did. I don't actually even know if it was intentional. I don't know if it was skill or luck, plan, whatever. But basically what he did is once he stuck around long enough at sea, just enough to like spot the stuff, and then he left. And so actually as I think that through, I think probably the quote-unquote right play, like if I am him, stick around and help me clear the destroyers, but luckily for him, I cleared them myself. And he's actually in position to go to the other flank, spot and sink that destroyer, and spot and sink, or, sorry, not spot and sink, can't sink a cap. He's going to flip the cap. And that's actually like a brilliant play for him to just go impact the other part of the map when I've got this part locked down. I could have easily been sunk by the 2 destroyers, you know, if I'm not extra skillful. That could go the other way, so, you know, in retrospect, was that the right call? I don't know, but I think it actually works out really well in this instance, so, yeah. Again, I don't have a full answer there. Just thinking about it, I like to think about stuff like that. I think it's interesting just as to take note of how the games play out and how they can play out. How right decisions can be the wrong decision if it's like, you know, if it doesn't match what your team is doing, or how wrong decisions can be the right decision if it works out. You know, it's only it's only crazy if it doesn't work. What am I talking about? Tier 6 destroyers. Let's get back to that as I just run around and just dodge this carrier for a while. This is super fun, engaging gameplay. No, we won't talk about. I've said my piece about carriers. Yeah, I don't mind carriers being in the game. I just really don't like the way that they are implemented. I just feel like they don't play by the same rules as other ships. And I find that in general, you know, they punish ships that are aggressive because they're the closest ones. Like, whatever. I'm not going to talk about carriers. Let's talk about Tier 6 destroyers. Fenyang, Z35, and if you watch my channel at all, you already know I like the Cossack 38. Those are my 3 go-to premium destroyers. I haven't played the Z35 in probably a year because I just find it incredibly dull. It's not slow. It doesn't have bad handling, but it's just like, it's one of those destroyers that just feels a little clunky. Fenyang does too, actually, but Fenyang's spicy. The Z35 is just like, lives on its sonar. It's very middle of the road, every other way about it. It's just like, I've played it. I liked it when I got it, you know, 2 or 3 years ago or whatever it was. It's still very strong. I just don't play it anymore because I've had enough. Those are my top 3 like premium destroyers. I like Benson. I like Grom. Bliskavica I think is quite good. The torpedoes are very good. I'm terrible with them, so of course I'm not going to pick that one. Oland I used to love. I don't think it holds up nearly as well in the game these days. Too many secondary ships, too many tier 7 matches. With the carrier rework, like, its AA is not good enough to deal with the planes as they are now. So I think one of its strengths that it used to have is like it could clear planes that were spotting it. The planes are more durable now. They're more of a direct threat. I don't think its AA is worth it anymore. So the Olin, I'm off. I used to love it. I've played it a handful of times since the rework and just more recently, and I just think Olin is well past its prime. I think there are a lot of ships that are not quite as good as they used to be, but you know, still hanging in there. Olin, I'm not a fan these days. What else do they have? OG. Oh, battle ended, actually. I won't tell anymore. That's my thoughts on destroyers. We didn't get the Kraken. I would have loved to get the Kraken on the carrier, but almost 4K in a tier 6. I'll take it.